Hi, third graders. Welcome back to our second lesson on recounting stories. Remember, recounting is just a different way of saying retelling. So let's look at what our lesson is for today. All right, think back to our lesson on Tuesday. I want you to think about what strategy I talked to you about to help you remember details of a story that need to be included when you do a retell of a story. All right, if you said the 5-finger retell, you are exactly right. In the 5-finger retell, it reminds us to include who the most important characters are, the setting of the story, that means the place or the time it could be, the problem that the characters are having, the events, so things that happen after we have the problem, and then the ending of the story, which usually is where the action happens, and sometimes a lesson or a moral of a story is learned. So that brings us to today's learning target. Today we will recount a story that includes characters, setting, the problem, main events in the story, and an ending. So let's review one more time what needs to be included in your recount or your retelling of the story. You need to make sure you include characters, but only the most important characters in the story. You need to include the setting. That could be a time or a place or both. Sometimes stories don't always include exactly where it's happening or the time, so you're going to have to look for clues in the story to find where the setting may be. Then they're going to have a problem. Those characters always come across something that they need to fix. Events in the story, that is the steps that the characters are taking to solve the problem, the things that they do after this problem happens. And then finally, you need to have an ending in your story, in your recount. This will include the solution to the problem, which is how the characters fix the problem. And sometimes it includes a lesson that was learned, which we also refer to as a moral of a story. Okay, let's see how we can put the 5-finger retell into action. I'm going to read this story here called The Lion and the Mouse. I'm going to do a close read, so I'm going to read one time just to see what the story is about, so please listen carefully. Then I'm going to reread the story, and together we will find out who the characters are, the setting, the problem, the events, and the ending of the story. Okay, listen carefully. The Lion and the Mouse. A long time ago, the mouse was looking for a good place to sleep. He climbed up onto what he thought was a small hill of warm, soft grass. He had really crawled up onto a sleeping lion. The lion woke up and grabbed the mouse with a huge paw. Then he opened his mouth to eat him. The mouse said, "Forgive me, I didn't mean to wake you. If you let me go, I'll do something to help you someday." The lion laughed at the idea that a little mouse could ever help him. "What could a tiny thing like you ever do for me?" said the lion, but he let the mouse go. The very next day, 2 hunters caught the lion. They tied the lion to a tree while they went to get a wagon. The lion couldn't move. Just then the little mouse appeared. "Don't worry, my friend," he said. "I'll help you." The mouse gnawed at the ropes and held the lion. Soon the lion broke free. He said to the mouse, "You were right, little one. Already you have helped me and have saved the king of the beasts." Okay, so I just read the first story. We know what this is about. I'm going to read it again, and as we come across any of our information, remember characters, setting, event, problems, the problem, events, and an ending, I'm going to underline it in the text. So let me grab my underlining pen. Okay, a long time ago, a mouse was looking for a place to sleep. He climbed up onto what he thought was a small hill of warm, soft grass. He had really crawled up onto a sleeping lion. I'm going to stop there because I see at the first at the beginning of this sentence, it says a long time ago. That tells us a time that this happened. It doesn't really say too clearly on where the setting is, but if I look in this picture, there's trees here. There was soft grass, and he thought that it was a warm, soft grass hill. So maybe they're in the forest. So I'm going to use these clues. Plus a lion and a mouse, maybe they could be in the forest. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. We now need to look for the problem, the events that happened after the problem, and the ending. The lion woke up and grabbed the mouse with a huge paw. Then he opened his mouth to eat him. The mouse said, "Forgive me, I didn't mean to wake you. If you'll let me go, I'll do something to help you someday." I see a problem. He opened his mouth to eat him, so I know that the mouse is getting ready to be eaten by the lion. The lion laughed at the idea that the little mouse could ever help him. "What could a tiny thing like you ever do for me?" the lion said, but he let the mouse go. Okay, we know the problem is the mouse is getting ready to get eaten, and he says, "I'll do something to help you someday if you let me go." So that could be an event that happened after the problem. So I need to now look at something else that would be important as an event. And I'm seeing that the lion laughed at the mouse. "How can you help me? You're so little, I'm so big." That could be a second event. Okay, let's go on to paragraph 4. The very next day, 2 hunters caught the lion. They tied the lion to a tree while they went to get a wagon. That's an important event. The hunters caught the lion. Let's look at paragraph 5. The lion couldn't move. Just then the little mouse appeared. "Don't worry, my friend," he said. "I'll help you." The mouse gnawed at the ropes and held the lion. Soon the lion broke free. He said to the mouse, "You were right, little one. Already you have helped me and have saved the king of the beasts." Okay, so we know the lion got caught, but then here in paragraph 5 it says the mouse gnawed at the ropes that held the lion, and that freed the lion. So at the end, the lion says that this little one was right, and the mouse has helped him. So let's put this all together and see. We have characters, the lion and the mouse, so that's actually our one finger. We have this setting a long time ago and possibly in the forest. The problem was the mouse was about to get eaten by the lion. And then events. Notice now here where I write the events, I used a transition word. The first event that was important, I put in bold print and in red. First, the mouse told the lion that if he let the mouse go, he will help the lion. So the next event starts with another transition word, then. Then the lion laughed because he didn't think a mouse could help a lion. Next, this is a transition word. Next, the lion got caught in the hunter's rope. And finally, notice this transition word, finally. Finally, the mouse gnawed. That means to chew with the big teeth. He gnawed at the ropes and set the lion free. Okay, those are all of the events. So how did this end? And I put another group of transition words. At the end, the lion learns that even small animals can be helpful. All right, we have characters, setting, the problem, events, and the ending, which is the solution and the lesson that the character learns. So this is how we put the 5-finger retell into action. Okay, so if you took that 5-finger retell and the information that we got from the story and put it together into a paragraph as a recounting paragraph or retelling, this is what it would look like. We have the title of the story as the beginning part of our paragraph, or the title of our paragraph. It's called The Lion and the Mouse, which is the title of the story. And look how much shorter our retell or recount is of the actual story. And it only includes the most important things that somebody that you're talking to needs to know so that they can understand what's going on in the story. So let's see what it sounds like. A long time ago in the forest, a mouse was about to get eaten by the lion. First, the mouse told the lion if he let the mouse go, he will help the lion. Then the lion laughed because he didn't think a mouse could help a lion. Next, the lion got caught in a hunter's rope. Finally, the mouse gnawed at the ropes and set the lion free. At the end, the lion learns that even small animals can be helpful. Okay, boys and girls, so we did it. We put together a recount of the story. And some things I really want to point out are the sentence starters. I want you to notice in this first sentence, I have the setting and the characters and the problem all in one sentence. Then the next sentence that starts my events, I use first, I use then, I use next, and I used finally. And those are truly the most important details of the story. I could have included some other things, but the story would still make sense without them. So that's how you can tell if a detail is important. If you can leave it out and the story, your retell still makes sense, then it's not that important. And then, of course, I have one more sentence starter at the end. And that tells my reader that this is what happened at the end of the story. All right, so it's going to be your turn. Let's look at your assignment. So your assignment for today is to read this story, which happens to be another folk tale. And this particular folk tale originated from the Cherokee Nation. Remember, a folk tale is a story that is usually passed on from different parts of the world through storytelling rather than writing it down. Now, we have this in writing because at some point somebody remembered the story and they chose to write it down. But usually they originate or they start by just being a story that people told to each other. And this is on page 110 of your Ready Common Core reading book. So here is your assignment. Listen carefully. You're going to do a close reading of this story. So the first time you read the story, just read to see what the story is about. The second time you read, you're going to be looking for all of the most important events that are needed to retell or recount the story. Remember to use your 5-finger retell to gather the important information. That's your characters, your setting, your problem, the problem the characters have, the events in the story, and what happened at the end, and if there's a lesson the characters learn. All right, now remember the hint. If you aren't sure if a detail is an important detail, try leaving it out of your recount and see if the story still makes sense. If it does, it's not that important. If it doesn't make sense, then you do need to add it into your retell. So that's the first part you're going to do. Read it, look for the information for your 5-finger retell, and then we're going to work on page 111. So the next part of your assignment is going to be page 111. The first problem is asking you to number the items to show the order of some of the events in the story. So you're going to find out of those 3 events which one happened first, which happened second, and which happened third, and put the correct numbers next to the event in the order in which they happened. Then number 2 just has a question: why do the birds win the game? Number 3 is a talking question that is very important to do even if there isn't anybody to talk to. When you speak out loud, you hear yourself thinking out loud, and sometimes you catch things that you might not have noticed if you didn't say it out loud. So it says, using the key details from the text, talk to your partner about how the bat's way of flying helps the birds win. Okay, so you need to think about that. How it is the way that the bat was flying helped the birds win the game. And then the last part you're going to do is question 4, which is actually going to be done on page 113. It says, in your own words, recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. Be sure to include the most important details from the story. Use the space provided on page 113 to write your answer. Okay, let me make sure that you are clear on that. It says recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. So you're going to find the part of the story where the bat is playing, and when we're speaking of bat, we're thinking of the flying bat. The bat is playing a game with the birds. Start there with your recount. There's going to be other parts of the story before that and after that don't necessarily need to be included in the recount, because the directions for this are asking to recount what is happening when the bat is playing with the birds. Okay, again, you can still use your 5-finger recount, and you can write your recount here on page 113. And then for my online group, you are going to fill in the information that you have on these pages into Schoology so that I can see how you did. If you're hybrid A or hybrid B, you're going to do this on the copy of the hard copy of the paper that Ms. Jaramillo and myself will give you. All right, boys and girls, so make sure you read the story carefully so that you can do a good recount of when the bat is playing with the birds. So let's wrap it up. Let's review what we learned today. In your mind, I want you to think about, what does it mean to recount a story? All right, if you said it means to retell something that you read in a shorter version than the original story, then two thumbs up to you. And the last question, what are the important details that need to be included in a recount? Hint, hint. All right, if you said characters, setting, problem, events, and the ending, you are correct. Another thumbs up, double thumbs up to you. I know you can do this, boys and girls. Good luck with your assignment. Hybrid, you can write yours on your piece of paper, and my online groups, please go into Schoology and fill in the questions there. All right, good job, boys and girls. We'll see you next time.